I feel like I can say the phrase Matthew Patrick is my hero and it doesn't feel like it's a lie. So we now live in a post-Matthew Patrick as the host of the Theorist Channel's world, and that is the shortest way I could think to word that without making it sound like he's died. As you're clearly someone who goes on the internet and doesn't live next to Squidward, so therefore don't live under a rock, you are probably already aware of that fact. And lots of people over the course of the last couple of months have given their little, bits they wanted to say about it, and I thought I'd eventually get round to doing it myself. And yes, I'm aware doing it in a football shirt feels like a weird idea, but it's the one thing I own that's game theory green. So the first thing I wanted to add was, all the people saying that game theory was their childhood have made me feel old. Because game theory has been more like my entire adult life rather than my childhood. And it's making me feel old as dirt. And I know the people who are older than me hate when I say that. But the people that are younger than me keep making that happen. Can you please stop being younger than me? Like, people born in the 2000s aren't allowed to be adults. Please stop it. But aside from my existential crisis about my own age, there's also people been sharing their stories about, meeting MatPat and knowing MatPat. And I don't have one of those. I've never had direct communication with the man. Yet somehow I feel like I can say the phrase Matthew Patrick is my hero and it doesn't feel like it's a lie. Though I'm very much hoping he doesn't turn out to be secretly evil. Please don't do that. I don't want to look like an idiot on the internet. But if he is secretly evil, he has done an incredible job of hiding it. Because my word, so much of what that man has done over the past 12 or so years has made the world a better place. Now, that is one thing I do have a small story about, but I just wanted to share at some point somewhere, that is about how Matthew Patrick and the work he did with game theory genuinely made me, actually helped me in some weird way. I say game theory, you're going to find out it's more like film theory, which would have been out by that point. So, in my final year of undergrad at uni, I basically tried to take every single option that avoided any long piece of writing, because at that point I still hated the idea of long pieces of writing, and chose every module that had exams instead. In hindsight, terrible idea. If anyone watching this is thinking about doing that, don't. You will regret it. It's always was great fun seeing the people doing their history degrees with their 2 exams at the end of the year. And my 14. But anyway, back to the actual topic. The one mandatory module that we had that year was called Communicating Science, where I couldn't avoid actually, doing some writing. And the longest piece of writing we had for it was a 2,000-word essay, which, when I first heard that, I, again, as someone who hated long writing, was terrified of. And then once I started actually trying to do anything, realised that's not enough words. Can I have more words, please? But with those 2,000 words, we basically just had to write about anything to do with physics. We just had to cover some topic in physics as long as we were explaining something that was actually in physics. It wasn't just generally talking about what physics is. And me being the weirdo I am, decided that the right topic to cover there would be, well, originally the plan was the science of space travel in science fiction. And then this is when I realised the 2,000-word limit really wasn't that much, and had to narrow the subject down to the science of warp drive. And partway through doing that, I went, hang on, am I trying to be Matthew Patrick here? And then I went on, I did the essay, and got one of the best marks that I got of anything in my entire degree. And though I will remember part of the feedback I got, which was brilliant feedback, it was really positive feedback that I got from the academic who marked my paper, or my essay, or whatever you want to call it. And I remember going, this feedback matches the description of a much better grade than you've given me. And in hindsight, I realised that is another thing I have in common with Matthew Patrick, seemingly, is holding on to deep resentment about grades given that weren't really that important in hindsight, but still, it just still bugs me to this day. I have more stories of that, but that's going to go far too far off topic. And that's the thing, I feel like my story will not be unique. This idea of, learning something from watching game theory or film theory or any of the theory channels, and then that actually having an effect on people's lives, people learning things that actually become helpful, whether it's in school or whether it's in their job or whatever, that will not be a unique story. Like I said, Matthew Patrick and the theory channels have made the world a better place. And I'm going to put this into numbers because I like putting things into numbers because I'm that kind of person, unsurprisingly. Now, let's say we take the most conservative estimate that 1% of all the people subscribed just to the game theorists alone have been positively influenced by the work of Matthew Patrick. That's over 190,000 people. And that's the, insane lowball conservative estimate. It's obviously way, 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 way higher than that. We're talking into the millions on, the smallest scale of improvement. And sometimes that's all people need, is that small little bit of improvement in their lives, that one thing that just makes their life a bit better. And that is what Matthew Patrick has done. And I say Matthew Patrick, I should be saying team theorist, because I think people have become more and more aware, especially now they're going to be seeing more of team theorist, that it is just beyond Matthew Patrick. But it is that domino effect of what he started with game theory, or what he and Stephanie, because Stephanie does not get the credit she deserves. Let's be very blatant about that. She does not get the credit she deserves, even through Matthew's own efforts to try and rectify that. But the work that team theorists have done, and the domino effect of Matthew Patrick starting game theory, and again, this goes back to him talking about the domino effect of Scott Cawthon making FNAF. So many of the same things can be said for Matthew Patrick making game theory. The domino effect of Matthew Patrick making game theory for that first time, and where it has led, will have improved so many people's lives, from the small scale of my little bits of I did better on an essay and I ruined my sleep schedule to watch GT Live. I know that sounds like it's a negative, but I got to watch GT Live back when it was actually live. I'm that old that I was an adult when that was happening. Again, sorry to people older than me. I don't mean to make you feel old, but I'm hitting the age now where this keeps happening. But you could, my point is, you could very easily take that last FNAF theory that they did with Matthew as host, talking about the domino effect of FNAF. You could very easily substitute in game theory and make a video just as long, if not longer, with all the individual people that they have helped on whatever scale. You hear the story, you hear stories of people. Like I said, the impact on me is small relative to other people, and I think that is just kind of the point here, is that game theory has made the world a better place. Food theory, film theory. I don't know why I said food before film. I'm a big film theory guy. If anything, film theory is my favorite of the actual theory channels. But between game theory, film theory, food theory, style theory, they have shown you it is okay to be a nerd in whatever form that comes, whether it's, science or history or gaming or films or food or clothes or whatever. It is okay to be a nerd. It is great to be a nerd. Be as much of a nerd as you possibly can be. And that is the most important lesson I think that you can learn from everything that Matthew Patrick and Stephanie Patrick especially have done on YouTube, because that is another thing from GT Live. This is something that gets talked a lot, gets brought up quite a lot, is Matthew has brought up a lot of how Stephanie basically helped him become more of an embracing who he is as a person, and he has taken that, and they've both taken that, and I think pushed that out to everyone and made the world a better place in that way. So I just also wanted to quickly touch on, my favourite theory video, or at least one of. There's far too many for me to conclusively say this one theory is the best theory. MatPat can suck an egg, or however the phrase goes. But the one that I have always quite liked was the Rosalina Super Mario Galaxy one from like a decade ago at this point. Far too long. But time has gone too fast. Can it slow down, please? Can we dilate time to make it go slower? That would be very helpful, because that leads into why I really enjoyed it. It was time dilation. I learned about time dilation around the same time that I first saw the theory, and I always really liked time dilation. Like, some of my friends will tell you about me getting kind of drunk and wanting to explain time dilation to people that don't know physics. That has happened more than once. But I quite like time dilation and some of the consequences of special relativity. The thing that has always really bugged me, their explanation of it is brilliant. It's incredible. If you've somehow never seen that video, go watch if you literally just search game theory Rosalina, it shows up. Go watch it. But it explains time dilation brilliantly, the concept. It doesn't delve in too much into the actual calculation of it. That's something that, they've sometimes done, sometimes they don't. I understand why for, special relativity, you might not want to delve too much into the numbers. But the thing that has bugged me is the speed that they show on screen that they supposedly use for the calculations, and the time that that relates to, that they, from their calculations, do not line up. Or at least it's a big old round job on the answer. They've like rounded 59 up to 100, I think it is. I'm like, this is from memory of when I have like double, triple, quadruple checked their maths each time I've gone and rewatched the video. I think that it says that the speed they use suggests that it should be, 1 year stationary is 100 years for Rosalina going away and coming back at that speed. When that number actually lines up to, I think it's 59 years. And it's always just ever so slightly bugged me that number is wrong, but it's not big enough of a problem to actually sit there and complain about it. But this is my chance, like final chance really to bring it up, and this is the only real opportunity I've got to squeeze that in somewhere. But yeah, brilliant explanation, brilliant video. Just the numbers don't line up. They've probably just rounded something somewhere to get that, to simplify it for everyone else. They just need to understand the concept of time dilation, not how you calculate it. But the numbers are ever so slightly off, and it bugs me. I'm a numbers guy. But that being said, obviously there's no more Matthew on the channel. I'm 100% still watching all the stuff. I am genuinely really excited to see what happens with 4 different people heading up the 4 different channels. I feel like it will give them all a new flavour and that little bit of individuality between each of the channels. Each of the new hosts can bring their own flavour to the channels. It will, I think, I've been wanting for a little while there to be more involvement of Team Theorist that we saw of them on these things, like the bits that we'd seen through, especially in food theory. We were seeing a lot more of Team Theorist, and it was great to have them in there. I didn't want it at the expense of Matthew not being there anymore, but getting to see the people who were the creative directors now come in and host the channels, I think they will, if we're looking for people to replace Matthew Patrick, I think the best person to decide who can replace Matthew Patrick, maybe Stephanie, but Matthew's definitely at least a close second. The two of them together definitely are capable of finding the best people to replace Matthew as host. But of course, the most important thing for me to bring up now is the fact that Game Theory's British now. Like, I'm going to claim this as long gaming the Revolutionary War. We won in the end. Yeah, you got your own country, but then we eventually get Game Theory. I maintain Game Theory should be spelled with a U now. I don't care if the U's not actually supposed to be there. Game Theory is spelled with a U now. And they're called trousers. Like, please, if that comes up in a theory, let Tom call them trousers. It would sound horrendous to me as a British person, hearing another British person talking about pants when they mean trousers, because when it's said with a British accent, it definitely does not mean the same thing anymore. Obviously, I'm saying this all dramatically like we will never see Matthew again. He's literally still on GT Live, which I will therefore claim proves that it's the best. He can leave all the others, but GT Live, now he won't let that go because it's the best one. Like I said, I used to watch it far too much back when it was actually live. Like I said, I was like, this is me in uni staying up too late to watch Game Theory. Other people are staying up too late to go out drinking. I was staying up too late to watch GT Live. And on the tiny off chance that anyone at Team Theorist ever sees this video, thank you for all you've done. Thank you for all you will do. From one nerd to another. Right, enough rambling. Time for me to get back to actually going and making proper videos, because as you can probably see if you look at the channel, I've been slacking big time. I've got some ideas. I've got an idea that's sort of related to this. My one little weird sciencey thing in honour of Matthew Patrick's retirement that I'm going to try and write. Which, now I'm saying this here, if I leave this actually in the edited video at the end, I'm kind of holding myself to actually going and making that video. But to end it off, I have to sign off. I'm not saying the catchphrase. It's not my catchphrase. I'm signing it off in the way that actually I think best, appreciates Matthew Patrick.